Glad you're back with us. I've been following this story across the country on this pipeline, right? This pipeline out in North Dakota, where they've had all of these protests. They've had people camping out. They've had people chaining themselves to a to the pipes and to the equipment out there to try to prevent this. They're trying to make it out to be federal government versus Native American situation. Listen real quick to this report from CNN, just the beginning of it.
Water is sacred!
Water is life!
Demonstrators gathering in cities from coast to coast and throughout the heartland Tuesday, protesting in support of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and against the construction of the controversial Dakota Access Pipeline.
I do this because I want clean drinking water for my future generations.
This pipeline doesn't even go through this area that they consider to be the section of the reservation. It goes near it, but it doesn't go through it. But they've now come up with all kinds of excuses as to why this thing shouldn't be built. It's like this pipeline that Donald Trump is going to build once he becomes president. We've invited Katie Tubb to join us. She is an energy and environmental issues analyst at the Heritage Foundation, just because I want people to be a little more educated about this argument because it's getting nationwide attention. Katie, welcome into the program.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. What can you tell me that I don't know about this North Dakota Access Pipeline?
Well, I think there's two big issues going on here. This is as much an energy issue as it is a rule of law issue. Energy issue in that we're trying to, this project has already been approved, and it is supplying good homegrown resources to the rest of the United States, resources that we depend on for our quality of life. So affordable, reliable energy is a thing that we should be proud and excited about. Fortunately, that's not the case out in North Dakota right now. But it's also a rule of law issue in that these people followed the rules. They played by the rules of the game, and now the rug is getting pulled out from underneath them. And when you've got a situation like that, that's not economic freedom anymore. That's verging on authoritarian means of doing business and government, and that's not a good place to be in right now.
This is an oil pipeline, correct?
Natural gas.
Natural gas pipeline.
I'm sorry. Oil. I was just working on natural gas.
That's okay.
Right before this.
So it's an oil pipeline, and we saw protests similar to this about the Keystone Pipeline. I have to wonder if there aren't other forces at work, and maybe that's what you're suggesting here, who've just decided that no matter which pipeline it is or where it's going, we're going to move along the path and find places where we could raise issues that might block it.
I think that's exactly it. And if you looked at some of the protesters, some of them aren't even from North Dakota. They're from countries all over the world, and what they're protesting is any use of conventional energy, whether it is oil, natural gas. All they want is to push a renewable energy, low carbon dioxide agenda. And what's telling to me is that North Dakota's Public Service Commission did everything it was supposed to up until this point. The permitting process was 13 months long. They had 30 hours of public hearings. The company itself held 154 different local meetings and 5 public open houses. The Public Service Commission had archaeologists walk this route by foot, and they adjusted the route 140 times.
Jeez.
They even reached out to the tribe multiple times and very directly, personally, and the tribes just wanted nothing to do with it and didn't provide any feedback. And to me, that unengagement with the democratic process of fighting this project tells me that they weren't willing to compromise and not interested in any kind of solutions. It was a defeatist mentality.
Right.
And to get to your point, that there's something deeper than just this pipeline.
So By the way, we're talking to Katie Tubb from the Heritage Foundation. She's a policy analyst for energy and environmental issues. The Corps of Engineers, I read, has now temporarily delayed this project while they go back and look at some stuff. It sounds like they're about to cave to the pressure. The company has gone and sought a ruling by a judge to allow them to go ahead and finish the pipeline and do the work since they're already there. Is this a situation that, let's assume after January 20th, when Donald Trump gets sworn in, he's got a new head of the EPA and maybe who can impact this decision by the Corps, that this whole, I'd say they're in panic mode a little bit, Katie, I guess is what I'm trying to say, because they probably have a limited window to try to stop this thing.
Right. So what's going on with the pipeline, most of it is built now. The pipeline will be done by December 1st, according to the company, except for this one section that's being contested in the courts. And the Army Corps said on Monday that they have a conclusion, but they want to, before they release their conclusion, hear more from the tribes. And they didn't put any timeline on that. So, I don't know what's in the mind of the Army Corps, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a decision come out of the Obama administration and that this will be kicked down the road to the Trump administration.
Oh, I'm sure. Just like Keystone. Katie Tubb, thank you so much for your time today. I direct people to heritage.org to read more on this issue and many others.
Absolutely. That'd be great. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great day. Thank you. I wanted some clarity there because I see these stories on the news every night, and I think to myself, if the pipeline's not going through the reservation, why are they suddenly up in arms over this? And that's when I started suspecting that there was more to this. There's a movement afoot, and it was well represented in the Obama administration to try to hurt the fossil fuel industry, the natural gas industry, from the get-go, canceling Keystone, all these other things that would help transfer oil from point A to point B are suddenly getting shut down.